What's going on, folks? This is Colion Noir coming to you live from SHOT Show 2017, and today is the first day that the showroom floor opened up, and it's getting there. It's starting to grow on itself a little bit. I'm pretty sure by the time we get to the third and fourth day, it'll start to really pick up. I actually spent some time at the Mossberg booth today, signing autograph and shaking hands, which was a good time as usual, and I got time to swing by the SIG booth. But first and foremost, I want to talk about the time that I spent at Industry Day. This year was actually my second Industry Day. I didn't make it to the previous two, and I made it to the very first SHOT Show Industry Day that I did last time. So I made it a point to make sure that I got out to Industry Day this time around because, of course, we all know I love to shoot. I got to be honest and say that there wasn't really much in the way of innovation this time. There were a couple of things that were kind of new, but nothing that really just stood out that just make me want to scream and talk about how great it is. However, there were a few things. One of them being the Hudson 9, and then also I got a chance to shoot for the very first time the Maxim 9, which is the integrally suppressed 9mm handgun from Silencer Co. So, I was actually really looking forward to shooting this gun. I remember when I first saw the commercial for it that Silencer Co. put out. It was kind of an ode to Miami Vice. And I never really actually thought about an integrally suppressed pistol before. I was aware of some integrally suppressed rifles like the 300 Blackout from Daniel Defense and so forth and so on. But as far as a pistol, I found that kind of interesting and a little nerve-wracking initially because I was like, how are they really going to get this thing to work? How are you going to get it to run? Is it going to feel weird? What is it going to look like? So forth and so on. When I got up to the table and I actually got it in hand, the first thing I noticed was it was an actually incredibly, not only intuitive, but comfortable gun. I have little small people hands, but I tend to like my grips to really fill up my hands quite a bit, and these grips were really comfortable. They were kind of aggressive, but not overly so. And then the first thing I noticed, too, because when you look at the Maxim 9, it looks like a really front-heavy gun. And that couldn't be further from the truth. It's a gun that's actually rather light and well-balanced. And so that was one thing that kind of actually caught me off guard a little bit when I picked it up and started to manipulate it. A lot of the controls are really normal, actually. When you think about what would an integrally suppressed handgun look like, you would kind of expect all of these weird kind of parts and things that you would have to have a learning curve to kind of get over. I didn't really find that to be the case, at least from my standpoint, when I shot the gun. And I will say this much, though. When I actually started shooting it, I was incredibly impressed with how quiet the gun was. Sometimes I'm not really impressed with some suppressors just because though they are quiet enough that you can shoot them without hearing protection on, they're still quite loud. Now, granted, we were shooting subsonic ammo, so from that standpoint, it definitely allowed the gun to be a lot quieter than usual. But I was really impressed at how quiet it was, how soft it shot. And to be honest with you, I really, 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 really want this gun for my home defense setup, largely due to the fact that the gun just felt so well put together. And I didn't have to think much about it. I'm currently running the HK45 Tactical with the Osprey can from Silencer Co. And that's my bedside gun. And as much as I love that gun, I can't lie and say that it is pretty long. It adds considerable, I wouldn't say weight, but it makes the gun not unwieldy, but just something that you notice. There's something obviously at the front end of your gun. You didn't necessarily get this with the Maxim 9. So I was really excited about that. And so I'm going to do everything I can to get this gun in hand, not only to do a review, but to make it possibly my bedside gun just because it was so reliable. And I don't even really run 45s bedside. So that was definitely something I was excited about. Another thing that I actually got a chance to shoot for the very first time, which may come as a surprise to a lot of people, is the M1A from Springfield. And I have an M1A loaded. The only problem is I've never actually shot it. And I've had it for a few months now. And I've been meaning to get out to the range and shoot it. But with seeing live and all the other things that I have to do, I never really quite had a chance to take it out to the range and put it through its paces. So I was really looking forward to shooting that rifle. Now, I got to say, I fell in love with the M1A loaded largely due to its looks and just its pedigree. I understand what the M1A stands for and what it's all about. But when I actually got a chance to get behind the gun, what I really fell in love with was the ergonomics, the cheek riser, the way the actual stock fit in my hand. I think it was the Archangel stock that a lot of people give crap for, but I actually personally love it, not only aesthetically, but functionally. I like to shoot with my thumb on the outside of the trigger well. I don't really wrap my hand around the pistol grip or the actual grip of the rifle. And so one thing I noted was it kind of provided a little shelf that I can put my thumb on top of and still shoot very comfortably. And I really like that. On top of that, the gunshot, I won't say incredibly soft because we are talking about a 308 and you can only do so much with the physics of that bullet and that round. But I will say that it was definitely noticeably soft. And it was something that I would enjoy shooting for an extended period of time. So from that perspective, I got to say that I'm really looking forward to really putting my M1A through its paces after taking the time out and shooting that gun. The trigger was also noticeably really nice too. It was a very deliberate trigger that made it a joy to shoot in many ways. It wasn't so heavy that it was cumbersome, but it also wasn't so light that it kind of threw you off a little bit. So I really enjoyed shooting the M1A loaded. Another gun I got a chance to shoot for the very first time, which will surprise people quite a bit, is the Springfield Saint, the AR-15 that they just recently came out with. And I think a lot of people would be surprised to hear that because I've done a tabletop review on it. But in the review, I also said I hadn't shot it either. So I actually shot it for the very first time here at Industry Day. And I got to say, I walked away still as impressed as I was with the tabletop review and as I did after shooting it. I touted the Springfield Saint AR-15 as one of the premier entry-level ARs on the market now. And a lot of that, in part, is due to the fact that the gun is set up in a way where you don't really feel the need to do too much to it. Usually when we talk about entry-level ARs, you buy the gun, you go to the store, you buy it, you love the fact that you have your first AR, but at the same time now you're talking about you got to change the buttstock, you got to change the forend, you got to change all of these things to make the gun exactly the way that you want it. And you don't necessarily need to do that with the Saint. It was a gun that I actually really enjoyed shooting. It shot really soft as well. I expected a lot more recoil from an entry-level gun. And then also, from an aesthetic standpoint, a lot of entry-level ARs look like entry-level ARs. And one of the defining characteristics of a lot of entry-level ARs is the fixed front sight, which personally I hate. I hate fixed sights, fixed front post sights on my rifles. However, with the Bravo furniture that they have on the Saint, it's a good-looking gun. It's a very handsome-looking gun. It's a gun that doesn't look like it's an entry-level AR, which I think is a really good thing for a lot of people, especially for people looking for their first ARs. I remember when I was looking for my very first AR, I had a choice. I had to make the decision. Do I buy a more expensive AR or that I could barely afford, or do I try to buy a cheaper AR that, you know, for all intents and purposes, I would have to build up and change out and put a lot of money to inevitably. And what I decided to do was to get the AK. I went ahead and bought an Arsenal AK, SGL 21. But if the Saint had come out during the time when I was looking for my first rifle, I promise you I would have bought that. Simply because it was something that aesthetically I was happy with, functionally ran flawlessly. It shot really softly. It was a very fun gun to shoot, and it was really light and well balanced. So from that perspective, I got to give major props to the Springfield Armory Saint, and I look forward to doing the full shooting review on that here coming up soon. So with that being said, I just ran my mouth about my experience at Industry Day, my second Industry Day here at Chacho. So now I got a couple of guests that I'm going to have coming on the show in the next segment. I look forward to speaking with them. We're going to talk some new guns. We're going to talk about suppressors. We're going to talk about body armor, you name it. So stay tuned. We're going to throw it to a quick break, and we'll be back.